Greetings, Blender heads, coming to you with another tutorial on Blender 2.57b. This one's going to be on how to make smoke and proper shortcuts for the workarounds that are included with Blender 2.57b. Currently have the file that I've been practicing with, and I've come to find out that standard way of setting a domain and an inflow is just not working, at least not in this version. So I'm going to get rid of my domain setup and take it from there. I have my usual light and camera tracking to an empty. Makes it easy to make things renderable. And the shortcuts I found that work in Blender 2.57b is simply add an object. I'm going to add Susie. Going to rotate her real quick on the x-axis by pressing RX and 90 on the number pad, and going to raise her up a couple of notches and get a good view of her in the camera. Raising my empty, that's about where I want it for now. And then I'm going to right click on Susie. I'm going to press spacebar, and in this little text box there, I'm going to type in make smoke. Click on the make smoke, and voila, our domain box is added automatically. This is all at the default settings. I already know from practice that I want the box to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to hit S and 2 and enter. Then I'm going to want to raise it on the Z axis 3, bring it back to the floor. And while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to save it in a file that I've already made for it. As it turns out, if you don't save the file, you won't be able to render any of the smoke. And while we're here under physics for the domain, I want to scroll down to the cache, and you're supposed to give the cache domain a name. I'm just going to name it box and go with the rest of the default settings. Right click on Susie, go over to particles, and by default everything is pretty much added except for a cache name. I'm going to call that Susie. I've actually run this without the names that I believe on 257A, and it's worked, but it's not doing it too good for me now. I'm also going to click disk cache, so it's recorded to the disk, and the steps I want are 1. In my head it makes me think that it's doing it a little bit more accurately. And I'm going to go back to the domain, and it's supposed to have a texture. It's got a material. Density's already set at 0 where it's supposed to be. Okay, click back on textures. There's the texture. It's already set to voxel data. It's already called the smoke domain, which is interesting. And our influence on the colors here, all it is influencing is the density I think that's the density of the domain. But I want to get the rest of the colors in there, especially since the default pinkish maroon color is so pretty to look at in renders. Just throw that in for the fun of it. Okay, I think we're all set, and all we need to do now is hit ALT-A and it starts kicking out some smoke. Moving pretty fast, kicking out a nice stream. You might say Susie's a little steamed today. I wouldn't know what about. This new interface should be a piece of cake to work with. And we're coming up on 250, which is the default settings for particles. As soon as it kicks over, I'll hit escape. And voila, I'm going to jump ahead a few frames by pushing the up arrow and press 0 on the number pad to get a view of the smoke and Susie, and hit render. There we go, with a pretty purplish pinkish smoke, a lot of dark gray in there, and the default settings I forgot don't include render the emitter. Wouldn't be no fun without seeing Susie. So I'm going to jump back to our other view and jump down to frame 1 so I can click on Susie, go to particles, and scroll down all the way to emitter, render, left click on that, and we're ready to make a movie. Go over to render window. I already have my settings for rendering, but it's not going to render to the right file. I'm going to choose the file that I've been saving Susie in, and I'm going to save that in case I crash, and we're ready to go. I'm going to click on animation and pause. And here she is, giving off some smoke. Nice default pink maroon color. Backing it up, give it another start. She's got a lot to be steamed about, but she really should be grateful since Blender's given her a new home, even though there is a new interface. And let's get a new perspective on that. Yep, getting the full view. And we'll back that up one more time. And then we'll give her some real colored smoke. And there you have it. Blender 2.57B Smoke Simulation. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and we'll be keeping you posted with updates periodically. Thank you.